Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my top 36 running back rankings and tiers for week number 7 of the 2024 fantasy football season. But before we get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 7 top 36 running back rankings and tiers for the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with the no-brainer running back 1 tier here with my running backs 1 through 4 on the week. At number 1, we have Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles going home to MetLife to play up against the Giants. This is a spot where I believe the crowd is going to be rowdy. They're going to be booing him, and I think Saquon Barkley is going to let the hate flow through him like his name was Anakin Skywalker and slay the youngling, the Giants defense. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to get back to doing what he was doing early on in the season. Coming out of the bye week last week up against the Browns, he shit the bed as the running back 33. The week prior to the bye, he was the running back 21. But prior to that, running back 1, 9, and 1 to start off the season. And I expect him to go back to being a top 3 running back weekly. At number 2, we got Kyren Williams going up against the Las Vegas Raiders at home in LA. Now, Kyren Williams is a dominator in the red zone. This man has scored at least 1 touchdown in every single game on the season, 7 total touchdowns coming out of the bye week, and he scored 3 total touchdowns week 3 up against the 49ers. The Raiders defense is soft as baby shit, so I think this should be another huge showing out of Kyren Williams. At number 3, we have Tractor Cito, Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football. This game has all the makings of being the highest scoring game on the slate. Going up against the Buccaneers, there is some slight worry that the Buccaneers get up big. They bring the boom, and they're blowing the back out of the Ravens, and then they would have to go ahead and insert Justice Hill instead of Derrick Henry. But ultimately, I think the Ravens will be in this game, if not winning this game by enough of a margin to where we see a large amount of Derrick Henry. This is another guy that just loves the end zone. He has yet to have his bye, but 9 total touchdowns on the season, 3 games with 2 touchdowns up against the Bucs defense. I am feeling nicey about Derrick Henry. At number 4, we have Kenneth Walker III going up against the Atlanta Falcons in Hotlanta. Kenneth Walker, another one of these guys that is addicted to scoring touchdowns, 5 touchdowns in 4 total games, coming off of a top 10 game up against the 49ers. Going up against the Falcons, going up against any matchup, I think you're going to want Kyren Williams inside of the top 5. And by Kyren Williams, I mean Kenneth Walker, but you also want Kyren Williams inside of the top 5. I like this spot up against the Falcons defense. Next up, we move on into the second tier here, the lower tier no-brainer running back 1s, headlined by Bijan Robinson. Now, last week, we dropped Bijan Robinson down the rankings like they were hot, like our name was Snoop Dogg. I said, you know what? We're going to teach this motherfucker a lesson. We're going to drop him down the rankings, and then, just then, he will finally perform, and that is exactly what happened. The running back number 3 up against the Panthers in Carolina, 2 touchdowns in that game. Now, I don't expect him to score 2 touchdowns here, but up against a Seahawks defense that cannot stop the run, I love Bijan inside of the top 10. At number 6, we got Chuba Hubbard of the Panthers going up against the Commanders in Washington. Yet another wet dream matchup for Chuba Hubbard. Now, not the best performance last week up against the Falcons as he failed to find the end zone, but had over 100 all-purpose yards and a bunch of targets and receptions. Going up against the left hands up, who are we? The Commanders. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to get back to his own. When Andy Dalton came here to become the starting quarterback, as if he came there, right? They just kind of demoted Bryce Young and sent him straight to Azkaban. For the first 3 games, he was running back 4 up against the Raiders, 7 up against the Bengals, 8 in a tough spot up against the Bears. Last week, running back 18. I like him as a top 8 back this week. Next up, we got the running back number 7, Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans, going up against the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. Joe Mixon has played 2 full games this season, and he's been a top 2 running back in both games. The Packers defense is definitely not some complete and utter pushovers, but ultimately with how much of a wagon this Houston Texans offense is, is, even without Nico Collins, you're going to be seeing a whole lot of Joe Mixon, and you're going to see a whole lot of Joe Mixon inside of the end zone. To close out the second tier here is Breece Hall going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Now, when it comes to Breece Hall's matchup, this is definitely a Dikembe no type of matchup. This is a matchup that scares me immensely, like when I was a kid playing Luigi's Mansion. But, and this is a big but, shout out to Violet Myers, going up against the Steelers defense, while it does have me afraid, it has me petrified. We see now with new play calling, they are committed to the run. They are committed to pounding the rock down the throat of the defense using Breece Hall. So even if this matchup may not be the best, I love the skill set that Breece Hall possesses. I love his upside in any given game. So again, while the matchup does give me some pause, I'm still going to rank Breece Hall inside of the top 8. Next up, we move on into the high tier running back 2 tier, beginning with Jordan. The numbers, Mason, what do they mean? Running back of the San Francisco 49ers this week going up against the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. Now, Jordan Mason is basically a coin flip to play. His status is up in the air. If he doesn't play, then Garendo is going to rank in this tier as well, because the 49ers are a running back factory. Jordan Mason was off to a solid showing early on in that game last week up against the Seahawks in prime time, and then obviously he got hurt, and that bent Jordan Mason owners over a table. But if he's back, even up against a strong Chiefs defense, I would expect another big showing. Next up, we got Brian Robinson Jr. of the Commanders going up against the Panthers. A great spot for Brian Robinson Jr. He did miss last week up against the Ravens in Baltimore, but his knee injury is trending in the right direction. He's basically a free square to be a top 18 running back, in my opinion, when he is healthy, especially up against a Carolina Panthers defense that is bad to the bone. So I do expect here in a great spot him to finish inside of the top 12. But again, I think he's a great bet to finish inside the top 18 or the top 16. I mean, the guy scored 2 touchdowns last game out while banged up, and he has 5 touchdowns in 5 games. So I like him a lot here in this spot. Next up, we got Tony Pollard going up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The Bills' run defense has been no bueno. We saw Breece Hall absolutely devour that defense last week, and I think Tony Pollard has the upside to do the exact same thing. The biggest problem with Tony Pollard is he's on an offense that is anemic, right? When you have Will Levis, the mailman, under center, you're just not able to move the ball at a very good rate. You're not able to get into opportunities where Tony Pollard can punch the defense in the mouth and hop on into the end zone. Now, he still has 3 touchdowns in 5 games, so that is still solid. He's going to be able to get a lot of carries, probably 17 plus carries, a couple of targets, no Tajay Spears. So I like him up against the Bills, but again, it does kind of hurt his upside that the team is so dog shit. Next up, we got the other running back in that game, James Cook, going up against the Les Titans. Now, the belief right now is that James Cook is good to go. He is off of the injury report with a turf toe. Now, I will note, when you have a turf toe, that hurts like a butt cheek on a stick that could linger, so James Cook's efficiency might take a dip in the opposite direction. The fact that Ray Davis looks so good as well also could play into James Cook getting a slightly lessened workload. You match the Ray Davis play with the fact that he's coming off of an injury, I do think it would be a little bit foolish to rank him higher just because of that. Now, could he finish highly? Of course, James Cook has been amazing this season. He feels like a guy that is going to see a lot of work game in and game out. They should be up on the Tennessee Titans, which will allow them to run the ball a ton with him late. He has a very safe floor with the amount of touches that he gets, so I feel pretty confident in him here. But again, there is some worries with coming off the injury, as well as how good Ray Davis looked last week. Next up, we got Kareem Hunt going up against the 49ers in San Francisco. Running back 5 prior to the bye up against the Saints, where he kicked them in the teeth. 27 rushes for over 100 yards, 15 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown as the running back 5. Now, I don't think Kareem Hunt magically turned back time. He flipped Flavor Flav's clock around, and now he's back to his old self from when he was young on the Kansas City Chiefs. but he's also not fully washed. So with the team seemingly wanting to give him the running back one role, I'm just going to continue to believe that he is going to produce because the Chiefs are an offense that produces points. Next up, we got J.K. Dobbins going up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Now, I do have J.K. Dobbins ranked slightly lower than consensus, but ultimately not by a bunch. Expert consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros got him as the RB11. I got him as the running back number 14. The Arizona Cardinals defense, another one of those where it's basically a layup where it's Dwayne Wade to LeBron James for the fucking slamma jamma. I like this spot for J.K. Dobbins. The offense isn't the best, but if you're going to hand the ball to J.K. Dobbins 18, 20 plus times, I mean, he had 25 carries last week and a touchdown. That is going to be a recipe for great success. Very nice. I like. The final guy in this tier is Josh Jacobs. Now, I contemplated dropping Josh Jacobs down into the next tier, but I didn't have the cojones to do it. Now, why would I drop him down a tier? Because frankly, every game, you go in thinking the same shit. You go in thinking it's like the definition of insanity. You go in thinking, you know what? Josh Jacobs is on a great offense. Josh Jacobs is a great running back. He's going to find the end zone this game. And then he just never does. He has one touchdown on the season, and he's played in every single game. Now, I get some of those games with Jordan, love me tender, love me sweet. Some of the games with Malik Willith. Shout out to Mike Tyson. But the matchup here isn't the best against the Texans. But again, Josh Jacobs is a really good running back in my opinion. So when the train goes his way, when the tides shift his way, he has that top 5, that running back one upside. It's just the upside really hasn't been scratched just yet. Next up, we move on into the 4th tier here, the lower tier running back number 2s, headlined by some players that are typically ranked a little bit higher, Jahmyr Gibbs as well as David Montgomery. But before we talk about these players a little bit more and the rest of the running backs in my top 36 running back rankings and tiers for week numero 7, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. Now, if you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you'll receive your free pick, which on Sunday Night Football is Aaron Rodgers higher than half a total yard. You match that with any of the other players playing on Sunday or on Monday, and you'll receive 3 times what you put into your pick'em. You're like, Nick, you know what? Instead of 2 picks, I want to do 3 or 4 picks. Then the payout will obviously be higher. When you sign up using promo code Notorious, you get the free pick plus a deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So make sure you sign up using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description to get your free pick, Aaron Rodgers higher than half a total yard, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. Nick, why are they ranked so low? Oh man, this Lions offense is percolating. This Lions offense is great. This Lions offense produces a lot of fantasy points. Don't you know, Nick? Well, I do know. Problem is, they're going up against the cold like Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings defense is elite up against the run. Now, if there's any offense that could stifle that defense, it would be the Lions because their offensive line is a brick fucking wall. But again, you're kind of throwing the stats out the window when you rank them higher, right? Gibbs is currently ranked as the running back 12 in expert consensus rankings. And while Gibbs is so good, he could obviously end up there, right? He could take one carry, 99 yards straight to the crib. He could take one dump off, 87 yards to the touchdown. Shout out to Rob Gronkowski to the end zone. But, and this is a big but, shout out to Mia Malkova, going up against the Vikings defense makes me very, 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 very nervous. I'll just be honest. I will be very honest with you. Next up, we got David Montgomery. Again, I love David Montgomery. This guy is another guy that's addicted to the end zone. Tiger Woods is addicted to sex. David Montgomery is addicted to scoring touchdowns. 1 or more touchdowns in every single game. 5 games played on the season, 6 touchdowns. Vikings defense, rock solid, like your cock off some Viagra. So no need to get real unruly with Montgomery. You're still going to play him, but I just can't rank him higher than this. Next up, we got Chase Brown, CB Chalupa Batman, going up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Chase Brown, I thought, was going to be able to do the dash on the Giants. I thought he would hit him with the 619 Rey Mysterio. Instead, he was just the running back number 20, but he still had a good game and scored a touchdown. 3 straight weeks with a touchdown or more. And with the offense kind of trickling away from Mr. Zach Moss and them giving more of the load, to Chase Brown. Even up against the Browns defense that some people might get nervous about, I think Chase Brown feels great in this spot. I just couldn't rank him ahead of Montgomery and Gibbs, even though I like the matchup way more. Just because there's just something about Montgomery and Gibbs. There's just something about the way they play that even if the Vikings defense does worry me, I still think they'll be decent. Next up, we got James Conner to close out this tier. Now, James Conner has taken you on a whirlwind in fantasy football. There has been the highest of highs on top of the mountain Kilimanjaro. There has been the lowest of lows, like you're in the deep depths of hell, okay? Running back 8 to start off the season, then running back 7. Everything's all fine and dandy. Then boom, left hook from Alex Pajeda, running back 53. And that's like, okay, things are getting a little bit better. Running back 15, 18, and then boom, right hook from Mike Tyson, running back 36. So it's been a up and down game. It's been a up and down season for Kyler and this Cardinals offense. Now they're going up against a defense that I think is very, very good in the Chargers. So again, I don't think James Conner is going to be like scoring 4 fucking points like he did back in week 3. But I also wouldn't put the highest of a ranking on him because of the matchup. Next up, we move on into the next tier here, which is the low-end running back numero doses and the running back number 3s here, beginning with Devon Achane. Devon 2 Chains. Now, once Tua Tagovailoa returns to this team, return of the Mac, I'm going to be sitting here just giving the Gawk Gawk 9000 special to Devon Achane. It might even hit my uvula, pause. But the reason why I can't do that with Tyler Huntley under center is because everything has went down the toilet. Running back 3 and 2 to start off the season. I told you all to draft Devon Achane. People were giving me the Sukalamink special in the comments. Then, boom, no Tua, running back 33, 45, and 55. But he did get hurt up against the Patriots, and I think he would have had a much better game. Now, he is going to be good to go in this game as he cleared the concussion protocol. They're going to use Raheem Mostert behind him. The Colts defense is so bad against the run. Now, I've got him ranked here, but it doesn't feel great, right? Playing Devon Achane with Huntley under center definitely feels far from ideal, but I think based on what we saw to Mostert prior to the bye, I think also coming out the bye, Huntley will look the best, hopefully, as a Dolphins fan. No bias, though. I hope Achane has a solid game here. But again, I'm a little bit worried. Next up, we got Tank Bigsby. Now, at the end, could end up playing, even though I thought ETN probably wasn't going to play. But assuming ETN is out, we're rocking with Tank Bigsby in this range. The Patriots defense, not so great against the run. Problem here with the Jaguars is the team just isn't very good. The defense just isn't very good. So if Drake May in London starts laying the hammer fist, the 12-7 or 12-6 elbow down on the Jaguars, then the game script's going to flip on its head. And we're going to see more I almost said Donta Foreman as if he's on this fucking team. He's on the Bears. We're going to see more Dearness Johnson, like we saw last week, where Tank had just 7 carries for 24 yards. Though I do still believe this is Tank's backfield. I do believe he will see 15-plus touches in this game, and I think up against the Patriots, he'll be fine. But again, there's still that worry in the back of my head that he's not going to get enough touches, and we're going to end up getting fucked here. Next up, we got Najee Harris going up against the Jets at home in Pittsburgh, coming off of a magnificent performance, the greatest performance you've ever seen out of Najee Harris. Not really, but a top 10 finish, over 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. I damn near ejaculated in my pants when I saw that stat line because Najee never does that. Now, Najee's good to get you 10 to 14 points every single week. He's always going to get you that. Why? Because the offense is good enough to do that. But now they're pivoting off of Mr. Justin Fields, and they're going with Mr. Unlimited, which I think could turn the offense around. But in the negative way, right? They're going forward, keep moving forward. They're advancing. They're going up and up and up. And now they're going to get kicked, this is Sparta style, into a big hole. And I'm scared. I really am, because it seems like Russell Wilson is going to start. Now, maybe that means they're going to hinge on the run even further, but they already did that, so Jets defense really not good against the run, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not ranking them higher because I'm nervous. Next up, we got Aaron Jones. Now, a couple of days ago, would I have told you that Aaron Jones was going to play? The answer to that would be a big, resounding no. He's dealing with the hip injury, but now he is questionable to play with the hamstring, the hip. Everything's messed up for this guy. And he's old, so I don't think they should play him, but it seems like he's going to play. Lions defense is great against the run, so I don't really expect too much out of him. Next up, we got Ramondre Stevenson going up against the Jaguars. Another guy that I thought was out, but he said today with the foot injury, he is going to play. Rex Ryan examined his foot and said it was good to go. Going up against the Jaguars in London is a beautiful sight to behold. Let's just hope he plays. Probably not going to be 100% though, which leads me to having him ranked here instead of significantly higher, which he would be ranked if he was fully healthy. Next up, we got Devin Singletary in the next tier here, the running back 3 tier. Now, Devin Singletary is fine. I wish he wasn't playing though, because he's going to split carries with Tracy, which basically kicks them both directly in the cock. Now, I think Singletary is going to be the benefactor of the split. He's going to be the guy getting more of the touches. But I can't say that with enough confidence to rank him any higher, even though he's been fine when he played. Next up, we got Bucky Irving. Now, Rachaad White probably won't play. If he does, this is a dreaded 3-headed running back backfield. Bowles already came out and said they are going to rock with the hot hand approach. So if Bucky in this game comes out hot, then he's going to get a bunch of touches. If he doesn't, then Sean Tucker is going to get a lot of carries. So it makes them both risky. I like the spot up against the Ravens, but I can't rank them both even higher. Bucky is also in the, or Bucky and Sean Tucker Carlson are both in this tier. Next up, we got Austin Eckler going up against the Carolina Panthers. Now, Brian Thomas on the Jaguars, Brian Robinson Jr., both juniors, are Brian Robinson's playing in this game, so that will lead to Eckler taking more of a backseat, but he continues to finish in the top 26 basically every single game outside of week 1. He's going to get you 11 or 12 fantasy points. He's probably never going to top 20, but that just earns him a spot in this range, even if he's not very exciting. Next up, we got Trey Sermon. If you were trying to compare who's more exciting, Sermon versus Eckler, Sermon would be way more exciting, but Sermon also could completely screw the pooch for your fantasy team, right? Eckler is going to get you the solid basis of the targets. He's going to get a couple of carries. He's going to get you 10 to 12 points. Again, he's probably never going to explode and get you 20 plus, but he's going to be fine. Whereas Sermon was the running back 6 in week 5, but then follows that up with the running back 48. So there's a high ceiling, low floor. The Dolphins defense sucks cock against the run. I'm a Dolphins fan. I know that. So Sermon should be fine, but they're going to use Goodson as well, which is not very good for Trey Sermon, so he's chilling here. Next up, we got Alexander Mattison of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Rams in LA. Alexander Mattison, if he scores, you're going to be happy. Zamir White might play. He might not play. If Zamir White plays, it would knock Alexander Mattison down even further, because even though I think Mattison should be the guy, I don't know if the team will truly believe that. Next up, we got Raheem, the wet dream Mostert going up against the Colts in Indianapolis. Looked very nice up against the Patriots prior to the bye, but with A-Chain back and with the offense not going to be scoring as many points as they would with Tua Tagovailoa under center, Raheem has to be buried down here. But once Tua comes back next week up against the Cardinals, we might be able to move Raheem Mostert up a couple of pegs. Next up, we got Zach Moss. Now, Zach Moss got pushed aside. I don't want to play with you anymore, like Andy in Toy Story. And that led to Zach Moss being not very good. He had 1 fantasy point up against the Giants in primetime. But again, he was not 100% healthy. Now, he's probably still not 100% healthy, but I think he'll play a little bit more snaps. Again, not the best start, though, which is why he's down here as a running back 3. Closing out this tier, we got Sean Tucker Carlson, who slayed the libs last week. 14 carries, 136 yards, 3 receptions, 56 receiving yards, and not 1, but 2 touchdowns in that game. Running back number 1, great. But again, they're going to use the hot hand approach. Who knows whose hands are going to be hot? Who knows whose hands are going to be cold? Final tier here, the praying to the football gods, 4-touchdown tier. We got 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. Now, in all reality, if you play Nick Chubb, you need to get ready to take the Chubb up the behind because they're going to ramp him up. They're not going out there saying, Nick Chubb, you get 1 million carries. They're not going to fucking do that. They're not going to do that. The matchup is great. Maybe he scores a touchdown. The sportsbooks have him at plus 125 to score a touchdown, which is the most disgusting line I've ever seen. If you bet Nick Chubb to score a touchdown at plus 125, you're just dumb. Like it's that simple. Now, if he was plus 300, I would bet it. Why? Because it's fun. Because I love Nick Chubb. But coming off the injury on a slow in kind of touches, that is crazy. That his line is that low. Make sure you guys check out Underdog, promo code Notorious. But Nick Chubb, even if he gets a couple of carries, he might be able to do something very good with that. Next up, we got Tracy. Again, I think the split's going to be more in favor of Singletary. If we hear more tomorrow or today, and then on Sunday, hey, they're going to give more touches to Tracy, then we're going to kick Devin Singletary down and move Tracy up. Next up, we got Antonio Gibson. Ramondre's going to be playing banged up. Gibson should see around 8 to 10 potential touches. Maybe he takes one to the crib because he's very fast. Next up, we got big Justice Hill looking to bring the boom up against the Buccaneers. If the game script goes completely negative for Derrick Henry, meaning they are getting pounded from the back, how you like that? They are getting elbow dropped, then Justice Hill is going to be getting a lot of opportunities. If they are winning or in a close game, Justice Hill is going to do nothing. Final guy here, we got Tyler Algier. I know he scored a touchdown last week, had over 100 yards as the running back 11 up against the Panthers. I know the matchup is great here up against the Seahawks, but I think he's more than likely going to see his typical 6 to 10 touches compared to the 19 that he saw last week. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. Check out Underdog, promo code Notorious to get that free pick. Aaron Rodgers higher than half a total yard, plus the first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and check out one of the videos in the description if you haven't seen them already. Good boy!